Let's now flip over to our correspondent in the field, Elizabeth Booker Houston, who will stop at nothing to teach about the importance of caregivers.
Hey y'all, this is Elizabeth Booker Houston and I am your woman on the street. I'm going to be asking questions about the caregiver economy here at Double X Comedy, which is a local open mic in the DMV at Detour Coffee Shop in Arlington, Virginia, because I figured who better to talk about the importance of an entire industry that provides support than a bunch of comics trying new jokes at an open mic. Hey, we are here at Double X Comedy with another comedian.
Hello, I'm Balia Janssen.
And we are going to ask you some questions, all right?
Okay.
It's about, so we're going to see what you know.
Yes.
Okay, you ready?
I think so.
Are you sure?
No.
You scared?
Yes.
Okay. You should be.
I know.
Not really. Chill out.
All right.
Calm down.
Heard.
Breathe. Okay, we got this. Do you know what the largest occupation is in the United States?
Firefighters.
That was a very quick answer. It was also incorrect. Do you know what the largest occupation is in the United States?
Nurses.
You're on the right track.
I'm just gonna guess like construction worker or something.
I feel like this might be me a little bit cheating. I've actually been a caregiver I was one of my grandmother's caregivers towards the end of her life. Through a team effort, she was able to, pass away at home and spend the last couple of years of her life at home. So the most disrespected person in America is a Black woman, and also caregivers. Also caregivers.
Especially a Black caregiver.
Yes, ma'am.
You know what? Yeah, you're onto something. Yeah. What you think about
firefighters save homes?
I mean,
No.
Sometimes.
Sometimes.
Sometimes they don't.
Not in the 60s.
Wow. What they do in the 60s?
What they did to Black people.
Oh.
Yeah.
They got dark fast.
Yeah, that was.
Yeah.
I don't know why we did that.
That's all right. So my next question is, do you know what percentage of people in the U.S. are unpaid caregivers? What percentage of U.S. adults?
What percent?
Yeah.
Probably big, like 72.
Okay, that's way higher. You were on a whole pessimistic path.
I'm gonna go with 10%.
That's so low.
Really?
It is.
It's way higher than that.
Higher than that.
That's
You want to guess
terrible.
again? I know.
I would say between 40 to 60%.
You were so good at this. So
Okay.
it's 40.5%.
Okay.
49%.
40.5%. It's 40.5%.
Okay,
Yeah.
so that makes me feel better because
Okay.
I was just thinking of how many people have to take care of their relatives.
Yeah.
And it's a lot.
It is a lot. Do you know what a sandwich caregiver is?
It's sandwich caregiver. No.
A sandwich caregiver.
Yeah. It has nothing to do with food. I know we're standing
Yeah,
here about
I know.
food. It has
Well,
nothing to do with food.
Sandwich caregiver. I'm guessing they're unpaid.
They can be.
Sometimes I say that I tell joke sandwiches, so I sandwich like old material, new material, old material.
Okay. That is someone who takes care of both a minor child and an older relative at the same time. So they're responsible for both.
Yes.
Sandwich in the middle.
Oh, I have those in my family. I didn't know that's what they were
Oh,
called.
really?
Yeah.
Okay, so you know what
The thing that my heart goes out to is that for these sandwich caregivers, it's like in addition to being a good mom and being a good daughter, because it's almost always women.
Yeah, 3 in 5.
Yeah.
3 in 5 of these positions are filled by women.
So do they help old people and young people?
Yes. Okay, that is great, Ben. I like how prepared you are.
They are.
Okay.
Okay.
I was going to say you were kind of out of the frame, yeah. We have talked about all of these caregiving positions, how many people do it, unpaid labor, 3 in 5 women, sandwich caregivers, all of this work. How many states do you think have implemented paid family leave?
Oh my God. Now I'm losing hope. I'm going to say like, I'll say 10 out of 50 states.
You know what? You're pretty close. Do you know how many states in the United States have paid family leave?
0.
It's not that bad. Okay, and final question.
Yes.
How many states in the U.S. have paid family leave?
Oh my God.
It's not a lot. It's probably like 20.
That's higher, actually. It's 14.
It's 12.
14? You were so close to, like, you were so good at these.
That was a lot of clap. Okay.
I feel like I learned in school that the U.S. is like one of the only countries with no paid maternal or paternal leave.
So
Is it by state?
it's by state.
Okay.
And there's 14 states that have it, which out of 50 is still not good. And like
Yeah.
you said, as a country, we don't really have like a ton of it.
Okay.
But this was good. I'm proud of you.
Yeah, I'm so
All right. Yeah.
I was gonna say 10 at first, but I wanted
You know
to give our
what?
country
You
a
wanted
little
to give
bit
the benefit of the doubt. The United States don't ever give the United States. Look, because our people should never give the United States the benefit of the doubt. Don't ever.
This week, our focus is one of the most discussed issues in America, the assault on America's immigration system. So now we're going to turn it over to Elizabeth Booker Houston, who's going to be on the streets talking to folks about our immigration system and migrant workers.
Hey y'all, I'm here in Kalorama Park out in Washington, D.C., and we are doing on-the-street interviews about immigration. I'm here with
Nicole.
Hi, Nicole. Thank you so much for being willing to answer these questions. You shared an interesting fact about where you were from. If you don't want to say, you don't have to.
I'm just a border town in Arizona.
I was just in Arizona for the first time. I was in Phoenix, and it was 106 degrees, and I've never felt that kind of heat before.
Those triple digits hit, babes. They hit, yeah.
So I am here with
Jenna Levine Liu.
and we are going to talk about immigration. So just, you've seen immigration in the news probably, right?
Oh, a whole lot. Yeah.
Probably not the best rhetoric is coming out either.
No, it's not my favorite. Not at all.
So I have some trivia for you, and I just want to see how many questions you know the answer to, and we can have a little discussion. Okay.
Let's do it.
Okay, so what percentage of oranges are picked in California and Florida by immigrants?
75%.
Do you know what percentage of oranges are picked by migrants here in the U.S. in California and Florida? That is actually a really good answer. It's 80%.
Oh, so close.
I would say probably easily 100%.
So I love that. It's 80%, so not quite 100, but it is very high. And I think that that's just a really good example of, you know, the fact that people talk about immigrants and how they're not contributing anything to society, and they are the backbone of multi-billion-dollar agricultural industries. And I didn't know if you had any thoughts about that.
Absolutely. I think I follow Workers Unite, which is all about getting ag and really recognizing how a lot of our agriculture is actually based on immigrant, like on the backbones of immigrants.
So I just want to ask you, you know, would you want to do that job?
No.
And
Full stop. No.
And I feel like that's just an honest answer. I don't want to do it either. And it feels like a lot of people look down on immigrants and they say they're not contributing to the economy, they're not doing this and that. But even with just the example of oranges, we know in agriculture in general that they are like the backbone of this multi-billion-dollar agriculture industry.
They're the ones who are harvesting most, not just with oranges, but like strawberries, all of those berries that you're getting, like an immigrant touched those and harvested them, has worked really hard and getting significantly underpaid for that work as well.
Yeah, and my friend brought up a good point. She was saying, how many people actually want to do that job as well? Like, I will be honest, I don't want to pick oranges. Would you want to pick oranges?
I personally don't, and hence why I appreciate the work, and I'm very pro immigration because there's people who want to do this work and like want to do it, come and make good money for their families. And so it's, you know, I've seen those videos of follow me on a day of like harvesting strawberries, and it's not easy. You got to work really fast. You got to produce a ton just to actually make that day worthwhile. So it's not easy work. And so I definitely don't want to do it, but that's why I appreciate the people who do.
I love that answer.
I think that the immigrant population has done wonders for agriculture, and we need them. They pay their taxes just like anybody else, and they're an important part of our country, and we need them.
I think that's a great answer. And I feel like a lot of Americans, I feel like most Americans would probably agree, but we're probably hearing some very loud negative voices out there when it comes to immigration. And so another trivia fact for you, what country the majority of Black immigrants in America come from?
Haiti.
So the next question I have is, do you know what country the majority of Black immigrants in the U.S. are from?
I would say, I'm going to guess what country, maybe like somewhere in Northern Africa, but I'm not really sure, I would say.
So it's actually two countries, Haiti and Jamaica, but Haiti is one. That is awesome. Yes. And so
Nailing it.
You're killing it. And I was surprised to learn that 1 in 10 Black people in America are immigrants. Did you know that?
I actually didn't know that.
I don't know why I thought it wouldn't be as large of a number. Me personally, I thought it would be fewer. And so I was really surprised to hear that. But it makes sense with all of the rhetoric going out. So I'm wondering, have you heard of DACA?
Yes, I have.
So DACA is a program that allows children who were brought here when they were young as undocumented immigrants and who have really never known life outside of the United States to not be deported through this deferred action. Did you know that DACA recipients, they're currently having their status challenged in court right now?
I did hear that, unfortunately.
And I just wonder, what are your thoughts about that?
That is absolutely disgusting.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're here. They belong here. They've lived here. I don't understand why we would want to take that away from anybody. And again, we need them.
Do you know how many DACA recipients there are that would be affected if the Supreme Court were to take away their status?
Wasn't it 2 million?
So not quite that high, but 530,000. But when you take
That's
into
still a lot. That's a lot.
But when you take into account those individuals, you also take into account the families and friends and all of the people in their community who would be losing this person who's very important to just their community and our society. So I think that you getting into the millions is actually a really good guess because you think about the impact.
Looking for the future of what they're trying to do. Yes, indeed.
So yeah, DACA protects the dreamers here in the U.S., but did you know that they are challenging DACA in the Court of Appeals right now? And so it's likely to go up to the Supreme Court. And I'm just wondering what you think about that and why people are attacking dreamers.
I am aware that it is being under attack or has been for a while now. And it's really hard to understand like the sentiment behind it, the people who are against DACA. Because like you were saying, like these are people who don't know any other life other than living in the United States. A lot of them brought here without their own choice. They didn't have a say. They were kids. So it just doesn't make sense. And I think it's just a lot of like misinformation and a lot of like not understanding like the situations that people are in. So yeah, it's a really it's a bummer. Like, damn.
Yeah, it is dumb. And it would affect like 530,000 people and their families, and I appreciate that you have the perspective of being in a border town. And I just wonder, like, could you imagine what that could do on the impact of the economy, just even in the place where you live?
Yeah, it would be really devastating to really start attacking not just DACA students, but just any type of immigrants. Like we even have a lot of African immigrants and refugees in our region. And it's like, we need refugees. Like this is a country where we've always been based on immigration. Like that is the history of our country, is immigration. And like, I don't know why there is just such an attack on people. Like we need more people in our country and we should be open arms and like welcoming people in, and I think it's nasty assumptions and like presumptions of other people, other cultures, and like not understanding those cultures that keeps people from like being so open and willing to learn and like accepting of others.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
The one and only, the amazing Elizabeth Booker Houston, who's going to find out how much the public knows about what's at stake for the LGBTQ plus community.
Hi, I'm Liz, and I'm out here at Perry's. Perry's has an amazing drag brunch here in DC and Adams Morgan on Sundays, and we are talking about LGBTQ plus rights and gender affirming care. So the first question I'm about to ask is a little silly, but do you know any gay or trans people?
I do.
See, that's the thing. We keep hearing that like gay or trans people are just like this, what did you say earlier, a unicorn, right?
It's a unicorn. No, I mean, it's ridiculous. I mean, my wife and I actually met at a gay nightclub, Tract, which is no longer around anymore. So we grew up in that community. We have friends in that community. My wife has employees in that community. And it's just, it's part and parcel of living in DC.
So I'm actually originally from Memphis, Tennessee. Wow. And so, Tennessee is a very, very red state. And so, yeah, I think people think about like DC and San Francisco and places like that. But my husband and I actually used to go to an awesome gay club in Memphis called Spectrum. And so even when you go into like, there. Yeah, you have in Memphis?
Yeah.
How did you like it?
Wonderful. I took off my suit because I was working on a business job. I got a little barbecue first, and then I went out, didn't tell anybody on my team because they're a bunch of conservative dweebs. Had the best time ever.
Spectrum, this is amazing. Somebody who went to Spectrum in Memphis. This is awesome. And you're in DC. See, I love this. And this is what it's all about, is like we have gay, trans, other people in the LGBTQ plus community all over the country in red and blue areas. Thank you so much for stopping today. You're here for the drag brunch, right?
Yeah.
I love the drag brunches here. I'm actually a comedian as well, and I've done comedy, drag, burlesque shows before, which is like the coolest and most fun combination. So these are so fun. But yeah, so I just wanted to ask you a few trivia questions when it comes to gender affirming care. Is that cool?
That's cool.
Okay. So the first question I want to ask is, do you know how many states have banned gender affirming care?
No, I have no idea.
So it seems that about 23 states have active bans or limitations on gender affirming care, and we see more and more laws trying to be passed every day to deny people gender affirming care. Do you have any thoughts about that?
Well, I think it's BS, it's my language, but it's just people like putting these laws in place. And if you don't like trans people, don't be a trans person yourself. That's just if you don't like gay people, don't marry a gay person. It's like, if you don't like abortions, don't get an abortion. People just want to live their life. They're not going to take your men from you or whatever. People have this crazy idea that something's being taken away from them, but they just want to get to the point that you already are.
I love that. I always hear the phrase that, equality is not pie. If I get a piece, it's not that you don't get a piece. There's enough for everybody to go around. Do you know how many states allow you to change your gender on your driver's license?
No, I really don't.
So it's a complicated answer. It's about 43 states and the District of Columbia, and it's all like various requirements. So like DC, for example, has a really straightforward, easy form. You don't need to show like proof from a medical professional or anything like that. A lot of states do require proof. Some states require proof of surgery. And there's about 3 states where it's kind of not really sure, and 4 states that outright say no. Do you want to guess at least one of the 4 states that have said no?
Texas.
Yeah, that was a good guess, which is very interesting to me because if you look at Ted Cruz's forehead, I feel like that man has probably gotten some gender affirming care for himself in the form of Botox.
And I would bet $1,000 that you can change your name legally in that state. So why can't you change from an M to a W?
That's a good point. Can you name a type of gender affirming care?
Well, top surgery, but there's also hormone blockers.
Can you name one type of gender affirming care?
Gender affirming care, there's hormonal therapy. There's physical augmentation, there's top surgery, there's bottom surgery.
Women can take birth control to get bigger breasts if they don't have proper hormones. And people act like hormone stuff is just for trans people, but it's a lot of people. There's also just clothing. People act like you can only be trans if you get surgeries, but surgeries are really expensive. They're really hard to get, and they can be dangerous depending on your medical condition. So just depending on how you dress, how you wear your hair, how you do your makeup, that can all be gender affirming. And people sometimes act like you're not trans if you don't have the surgery, and that's not true.
A lot of people think of gender affirming care as just for trans individuals. They don't realize that we as cisgender individuals also use gender affirming care all the time. So like I mentioned, Botox, that is actually a form of gender affirming care that people have seen, even folks like Ron DeSantis use because it makes them feel more manly and better looking.
As an old guy, testosterone. I mean, that really is a form of gender affirming care. Some men have a hard time growing beards. Some women grow too much facial hair. Mm-hmm. And so it's really aligning ourselves with the genders and the things that matter to us and appropriately using medical knowledge to help us achieve that outcome.
Oh my God, that was the most perfect answer ever. Yes, I love that. And also fertility treatments, which is a big one that's being discussed because of the way that they are coming after. IVF. And so that is a form of gender affirming care as well. Any final thoughts when it comes to pushing forward to provide more rights and protections for the LGBTQ plus community?
I just think people need to stop just saying this stuff because there's all these companies that are like, Pride is cool, and they'll sell merchandise, but then they'll go behind the back and use it. So Pride shouldn't be a fashion thing. It should just be something that's just a way of living.
Oh my God, how old are you?
17.
You're amazing. Any last words or thoughts when it comes to trans rights and rights for the LGBTQ plus community?
I come back to it and I think about the Black Lives Matter movement. And, there's a part of society that says every life matters, and it does, and it should. But I think we're at a point where we have to tease out the people with the greatest opportunities for improvement, the people who are the most diminished by our laws, by our societies. And we got to take a stand. And every life does matter, but some lives need a lot more help to get to the same place that an old white man like me enjoys today.
Thank you so much, Elizabeth. As always, I learned something completely new.
Want to keep seeing if everything is fine? Subscribe, comment, and like, and we can keep figuring it out together.